Hey, what's up? Okay, I'm making this video because of the Ahmed Aubrey. Because when I first heard the story on the news, I was like, "Fuck these fucking white racist assholes! They gotta hang." I wanted to go down there and hang them myself. And then I heard some facts about that, and I was like, "Oh, well, these guys definitely should be arrested for murder and tried." And then I heard more facts, and I can tell you right now that these guys are not going to be convicted of murder if it goes to trial because they don't deserve to go to trial. And then what's going to happen is there's going to be riots in the streets because everybody doesn't know these facts. And so if you know these facts, you would agree with these guys not even really needing to be arrested. So the current narrative is there was a black man out running, and white racist people didn't like that he was in their neighborhood and he was running. So they killed him because he was black. And they got away with it because they were white. So that's what we're all being told. But if you watch this video, you will not come to that conclusion. You will say maybe these guys need to be arrested and tried, and maybe not. But for sure they'll be acquitted because they didn't do what the narrative said they did. So, and it's impossible to know this if you're watching the gated institutional narrative, which wants riots and pits races against each other for views or who knows what. But it's this white racism, and there is racism. I'm not saying there isn't racism. I'm just saying that lynchings don't happen anymore, and people don't get away with lynching. And that's what they're saying this is. Basically, they're saying it was lynching. It's not. Just listen, and yeah, it's not what they're telling you. Just like hands up, don't shoot. The guy was wrestling a gun away from a cop, and the cop shot him. It's not like he was sitting there with his hands up. So it's the exact same thing that happened with hands up, don't shoot to the T. This is hands up, don't shoot all over again. Okay, so before we start going over any facts, I just want to point out that it is impossible to find Ahmed Aubrey's mugshots, which there are multiples. So, part of the gated institutional narrative is they don't show you the things that go against their narrative. And a mugshot from Aubrey, Ahmed Aubrey, would go against their narrative. So you can't find any mugshots of the guy. This is weird, right? I mean, there's other stuff like this, like, I might as well just show you this real quick. It is American inventors. Who do you think is going to show up? Could be Tesla, could be Edison, could be Benjamin Franklin, or a bunch of black people that you've never heard of. So shame on you if you want to find white inventors. And shame on you if you want to find pictures of the mugshot of the person who was killed.
Was it a vigilante action? Or was it self-defense? Let's cut through the rhetoric and get to the facts. So let's look at the mainstream narrative. The killing of Ahmaud Arbery, another black man falsely assumed to be a criminal. Ahmaud Arbery was running in his neighborhood and was chased and murdered by two white supremacists. LeBron James said, "We're literally hunted everywhere, every time we step foot outside the comfort of our homes. Can't even go for a damn jog, man. Like, WTF, man, are you kidding me? I was murdered by an armed father and son who hunted me down and shot me as I jogged in a Georgia neighborhood. Neither of my killers have been charged. My name is Ahmaud Aubrey, looking like the kind of stereotypical good old boys deliverance style in their khakis and baseball caps and squatting over a dead pig. You've seen their mugshots, I'm sure, down on the bottom with regards to Ahmed Aubrey. It's a nice picture usually of him in a tuxedo. The alleged picture on the bottom right of his mugshot, not so commonly seen. So what happened was a neighbor called 911 reporting that a black man in a white t-shirt was inside a house that was partially under construction and partially closed in. Now that's not jogging behavior. So he wasn't out jogging. So this is a picture of the house here. You can't see there's a little porta potty, which is probably how he knew that the house was under construction. So the history is that Ahmed Aubrey stole a television in 2018, which was a violation of the probation that he was under from 2013 when he was indicted on charges that he had brought a gun to a high school basketball game. An officer fractured his hand in hot pursuit. He was charged with a variety of things, but as a first offender, he got 5 years probation, but then he violated the probation with shoplifting. It appears to be a television, could be something else. And so this is really, really important as to motive. On the day of the shooting, there were several 911 calls reporting a suspect matching Aubrey's description looking into houses. So again, was he out there just jogging? Was he shot for jogging? Did people call, the police because a young guy was jogging while black? Well, no. They were called because he went into this house. And this matters to motive as we go forward. So, the father, Gregory McMichael, is standing in his front yard when he sees Aubrey hauling ass, as he puts it, down the street. Michael and his son Travis got guns, got in a truck, and followed Aubrey. So, the police report states that prior to parking their truck, because the violence erupted around the parked truck, the McMichaels had shouted for Aubrey to stop and answer questions multiple times, but were ignored. So what happened? They parked their truck. Aubrey ran around the passenger side of the truck, then crosses in front and directly charges Travis McMichael, who was holding a shotgun. Ahmed Aubrey punches Travis McMichael several times and is himself shot several times. Very, very important. No shots were fired until after Aubrey attacked, right? So, come on, look, if you want to go and shoot someone, you're just going to do a drive-by, you're going to shoot him, you're going to peel off. You're not going to sit there, park your car, and wait to shoot him until he's grappling with you for your shotgun. That's simply not how any kind of murder would work. And no shots were fired until after Aubrey attacked. And there's a little picture down here, sweet jogging boots, obviously kind of sarcastic. You can see, I don't know, it could be a shadow, could be any number of things we'll find out over the course of the investigation. They don't particularly look like running shoes to me. They look a little bit more like construction boots or maybe boat shoes with a high heel. Come and gone for various reasons, conflict of interest. Jackie Johnson is the district attorney for the Brunswick Judicial Circuit. She recused her office. As Gregory McMichael, one of the men involved in the shooting, was a former investigator in her office. I've seen him referred to as an ex-cop, as an ex-detective, and as a former investigator. So let's just say he's nose deep in street law, right? I mean, the law that occurs and matters when you're out there on the street dealing with people in real time rather than, courtroom law and so on. So, and this is really, really important when it comes to the citizen's arrest question. Confirms what we had already viewed as shown in the videotape, with the photographs and from the witness statements taken immediately at the scene. The autopsy supports the initial opinion we gave you on February 24th, 2020, right, day after, at the briefing room in the Glynn County Police Department, after reviewing the evidence you had at that time. We do not see grounds for an arrest of any of the three parties, right? The elder and the younger McMichael and the man who was filming, who was driving behind. So why? Why? Well, he said, it appears Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and Brian William were following in pursuit burglary suspect with solid first-hand probable cause in their neighborhood and asking/telling him to stop. It appears their intent was to stop and hold this criminal suspect until law enforcement arrived. Under Georgia law, this is perfectly legal. Citizen's arrest, perfectly legal. Now, let's look at this statute. A private person, it says, may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. If the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. Motor vehicle owned by Travis McMichael under Georgia law, this is legal, open carry. And you can look at the statutes more yourself if you want to pause. So it was legal for them to attempt a citizen's arrest. It was legal for them to have guns. So far, legal. The DA continues. The video made by William Bryan clearly shows the shooting in real time. From said video, it appears Ahmed Aubrey was running along the right side of the McMichael truck, then abruptly turns 90 degrees to the left and attacks Travis McMichael, who was standing at the front left corner of the truck. A brief skirmish ensues, in which it appears Aubrey strikes McMichael and appears to grab the shotgun and pull it from McMichael. The shot is through Aubrey's right hand palm, which is consistent with him grabbing and pulling the shotgun at the barrel tip. The second and third wounds are consistent with the struggle for the shotgun as depicted in the video. The angle of the second shot, with the rear of the buttstock being pushed away and down from the fight, are also consistent with the upward angle of the blood plume shown in the video, and that McMichael was attempting to push the gun away from Aubrey, while Aubrey was pulling it toward himself. The third shot, too, appears to be in a struggle over the gun. The angle of the shots and the video show this was from the beginning, or almost immediately became, a fight over the shotgun. Given the fact Aubrey initiated the fight, at the point Aubrey grabbed the shotgun under Georgia law, McMichael was allowed to use deadly force to protect himself. And this is what's so frustrating when hearing everybody opine about this stuff. Aubrey was not killed because he was black. He was not killed because he was jogging. He's not killed because he was in a whitish neighborhood. He wasn't killed for any of those reasons. He was killed because he tried to grab a shotgun and wrestle a shotgun and punch a man against the law. Now people say, yes, but you see, Aubrey was scared. He was alarmed. He was nervous. So what? Do we really want to live in a society where you can beat the hell out of people, grab their guns, try to kill them perhaps, and just say, well, I did it because I was scared, so it's fine, right? I mean, come on. I say this in brotherly appeal to black community leaders, white community leaders, every kind of community leader. Do we want a situation where somebody says, I beat up that black guy because he scared me. He looked at me funny. I was alarmed. We don't want to live in that kind of world. We really don't. So the fact that he may have been alarmed by these two men does not give him the right to viciously attack and try to grab the gun away from one of the men. Aubrey's mental health records and prior convictions help explain his apparent aggressive nature and his possible thought pattern to attack an armed man. This is really, really important. Like if you're grabbing at a gun, like if you got your finger on a trigger and somebody pulls your hand, pulls your forearm, or pulls the gun, it can shoot even though you're not pulling the trigger, right? So nobody even knows who shot. And the video is so blurry, and I doubt anyone remembers, but that's the reality, right? So this is the statute. Use of force in defense. Once confronted with a deadly force situation, an individual is allowed to use deadly force to defend themselves or others. There's a no duty to retreat law in Georgia, just as there's no no hate crime law. An individual is not required to back away from or submit to an attack. And the use of force, another statute, which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm to prevent, trespass on, or other tortious or criminal interference with real property other than a habitation or personal property is not justified unless the person using such force reasonably believes that it is necessary to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. And, most importantly perhaps, a person properly and legally defending themselves is immune from prosecution. And there was video. And in the video, no guns are being pointed at Ahmed Aubrey. It is perfectly legal to drive down the street, stick your head out the window and say, hey, stop, I want to talk to you. It's perfectly legal to say, I'm making a citizen's arrest. You need to stop. The police are on their way right now. All of that is perfectly legal. They say, they were hunting him down, they were chasing him. This is all just rhetoric. The question is, what is legal? Now, in a separate document, District Attorney Barnhill reports that video exists of Mr. Aubrey, quote, burglarizing a home immediately preceding the chase and confrontation. Let's look at the path to the attack. So here you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, the video is parked on the right of the road. You can see Travis, he has a shotgun, which I think you kind of legally you can't hide the shotgun like Matrix style in a long coat or anything. You have to show the shotgun. So he's out there with a shotgun. And Ahmed Aubrey runs up to the truck, runs towards the truck for quite some time, fairly leisurely pace. And then what he does is he runs up towards the truck and he runs to the right of the truck. And you can sort of see in the bottom right here, he's running around the truck. Again, fairly leisurely pace. And then what happens is when he gets to the front of the truck, sort of where the right headlight is, he then darts or lunges around the front of the truck and attacks the younger Mr. McMichael. and the shotgun fires 3 times, shooting Aubrey through the hand and then killing him. Now, Aubrey knew that there was a car behind him. I assumed that he'd been told that the police had been called, were on their way, and they were just trying to detain him on a citizen's arrest situation. So he knew there was at least one witness. Of course, people are coming out of their houses, I'm sure, and maybe grabbing their cell phones to film and so on. So, you know, if people have said the police are on their way, it's really hard to imagine that they're there to kill you because the police are on their way. It's very rare, if not impossible, to imagine that a murderer would call the police to show up to make sure they caught him. So, now, even if he attacks, which he did, of course, he attacks Travis McMichael, there is the elder McMichael on the flatbed of the truck. And so even if he'd taken out Travis, he would have been shot then by the older man in the flatbed of the truck. Now, the other thing, too, again, it's hard to imagine that Ahmed Aubrey even knew that these men were armed because they're in the car, right? In the car, if you've got a hip holster, then you can't see that over the window, the car window. You can't see that. And there's no evidence, of course, that they pointed any weapons at him because that's illegal. You can't point weapons at people. You can open carry, but you can't point weapons at people. So there's no evidence that he even knew they were armed, let alone that they pointed any weapons at him. So I guess he figured out when he was jogging up that the guy had a shotgun, and he's like, oh, I guess I'll use that to take these guys out. Again, the question as to motive, like why would he do such a thing? Why would he do such a suicidal thing as attack and try and get a hold of a weapon? I have a theory. It does accord with the facts. I'm not going to say it's conclusively proven, but I will tell you shortly. So here we go. This, to me, is the key to the whole mystery as to motivation. This is from The Star. From May 7th, this was Thursday, it's 2 days ago, as of this recording. Georgia shooter's father previously investigated victim Ahmed Aubrey. Here we go. Greg McMichael, who provided gun cover for his son as he fought and eventually shot a young black jogger. Again, you got to watch this language. He was not jogging. He was attacking. Anyway, Greg Michael may have known the victim long before their encounter in a subdivision just south of Brunswick, Georgia, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution has learned. Here we go. In his letter of recusal to Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr, Roger Barnhill, the guy we just heard from, wrote that his son, a prosecutor in the Brunswick DA's office, and McMichael, then an investigator in that same office, quote, both helped with the previous prosecution of Ahmed Aubrey. McMichael, a former Glynn County cop, told Glynn police he recognized Aubrey from the surveillance video that captured a recent burglary in his mostly white neighborhood. He said he planned to make a citizen's arrest. Right, so here we say, when he was in high school, I think he was 19, though. So anyway, when he was in high school, Aubrey was sentenced to 5 years probation as a first offender on charges of carrying a weapon on campus and several counts of obstructing a law enforcement officer. He was convicted of probation violation in 2018 after he was charged with shoplifting, court documents show. So, this to me is the key to the whole thing. And I'll tell you why in a sec. So, in a second, but let's just ask ourselves this basic question. So 2 guys chase you down and step in front of you. They're armed. They tell you to stop running. The police are on their way. What should you do? A, wait until the police arrive. B, ignore them. Continue running. C, call the cops yourself. D, attempt to come to a peaceful resolution. Start a dialogue. Or E, attack. Try to grab one of their guns and proceed to kill them both before the other person can shoot you. I think we all know the more reasonable answer to that, which then comes to the question of what was Ahmed thinking? What was going through his mind? Of course, we don't know at this point, and we'll never know, but there's reason to believe that we can know based upon the relationship that we just talked about. What is legal and what is illegal? It is legal to drive down the road and demand that someone stop. It is legal to make a citizen's arrest. It is legal to be armed while doing so. And certainly, Gregory McMichael knew the law deeply and well at this point. He had been a cop, an investigator, a detective for many decades. The idea that Ahmed Aubrey was unarmed is false. Listen. When you're grabbing at someone's gun and trying to use it to shoot them with and shoot their father with, you're no longer unarmed. I want you to picture this. Ahmed Aubrey comes out of the house that he went into for reasons unknown, illegally, and someone's on the phone saying stop, or the police are coming, or I've called the police, or he knows someone's calling to 911. He can hear the conversation, and he's like, oh man, I'm busted. And he runs. Or sometime later, Ahmed Aubrey looks up and sees, as he's running away, the face of the investigator who sat across him in the police station and cross-examined him, or gave him evidence, or asked for his side of the story, or took notes, or interviewed him in some manner. And he's like, oh man, what are the odds? What are the odds that I run out of a house I'm in illegally, with maybe incriminating stuff upon my person, and who do I see right there? The investigator from the police station. So then he runs. But, of course, as he runs, he's calculating. And what's he calculating? Well, he's calculating that he's screwed. Because now he's not just some guy running down the street that maybe later someone will try and pick out of a lineup while he was running past, scrunching up his face maybe. Now he's looked into the eyes of a guy who knows, Gregory McMichael, who knows exactly who he, Ahmed Aubrey, is. So there's nowhere to run now. There's no escape. And this is strike 3, right? 2013, gun. 2018, shoplifting. 2020, well, trespassing, burglary, who knows, right? I'll tell you where for sure Ahmed Aubrey is going to see the face of Gregory McMichael, who investigated him. We know from the video that it was the son, it was Travis, who was driving the truck, which means that his father, Gregory, was in the passenger side. Now, if Ahmed Aubrey is running along the side of the street, right-hand side of the street, what happens? You pull up, and it's not the driver who talks to him, it's the passenger. So Gregory McMichael rolls down the window, sticks his hat out, and says to Ahmed Aubrey, stop. Stop. We want to talk to you. And then, at that point, Ahmed Aubrey looks into the face of a cop who knows him and knows his history, and he was going to put him into jail. There's nowhere to run to, because it's incomprehensible. Why would he run towards the truck if he fears the people in it so much? Why wouldn't he run the other way? Why didn't he dart sideways? Why wouldn't he jump over some fences? There's tons of places for him to go, but he runs straight towards the truck. Why? Because he's not going to jail, he says to himself. He's going to take the biggest gamble there is, try and get a weapon, try and shoot them, maybe, disable them, get away. There's nowhere to run, because he's been made. Gregory McMichael knows exactly who he is, and he knows who Gregory McMichael is, and that's why he made the decision, I believe, to leisurely run up to the truck, run past the truck, and then dart left and attack Travis McMichael with the goal of getting the weapon in order to kill both men so that he could escape with no witnesses. Or no witnesses who knew who he was, because he's been made. He's been made. He's been identified. That's what makes sense. It's tragic. It's a bad decision, obviously. But that accords with the facts. Now, please understand, this is a theory. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have access to this kind of direct evidence. It will perhaps come out during the trial. But even if Ahmed Aubrey had never met Gregory McMichael, but Gregory McMichael had studied Ahmed Aubrey for the courses of investigation, it's entirely possible that Gregory McMichael said, oh, your name is Ahmed Aubrey. I know where you are. I know your history. You're going to jail this time. This is a citizen's arrest. Stop. So I believe that they knew each other. Investigators routinely meet with suspects. And that's what happened. That's how it went down. That's why Ahmed Aubrey attacked. Because there was nowhere to run. And because he couldn't run, and he didn't want to go to jail, he tried to fight. And he lost, and it's tragic.
All right, so I want to end this with a little commentary, too. One thing that, an unrelated story. When we're wondering about these different types of narratives and, who it helps, who it hurts, I remember watching this documentary once on this Russian spy who defected to the U.S., and he told the U.S. exactly what he'd been doing as the Russian spy. So what he would do is he would organize like an abortion event for people who are anti-abortion, and he'd be like, all right, everybody meet here who's anti-abortion. And then he would organize the other side and people who are pro-choice. And he would be like, hey, let's all meet here. And he would put them on the other side of the street. So like both these people would show up, like the two polar opposite sides. And they would have it out in the streets, and it would be like, and then he would like write a story about it, or pay someone to write a story about it, or just be a story in itself. Okay. And so China does these things too, where they know that racism is a hot topic and a big problem in the U.S. And they will push these types of narratives, and they will, you know, they have spies here too, just like Russia has spies, just like we have spies over there. We do this to like people do this to us. The point of the matter is that diversity in some ways is our strength, but in other ways it is our weakness, and our enemies want to divide us, and they want to show like, oh look, you know, United States has all these problems, and they want to show their people like you know, how bad the U.S. is, and you know how we have so many problems with this and that. And there's even one documentary that about poverty in America that Russia showed in their country, and it showed our poor people, and like they were fat and they drove around in cars, and like, it totally backfired on them because they were like, poor people are fat in America, because they, you know, like most people didn't have enough food to eat in Russia, and they were like, if the poor people have cars and food, I still want to go there even though they're poor people. So I guess this is a plea for people to want peace amongst everyone, and to be stronger, and to make sure that diversity is our strength, and instead of our weakness too. We can, you know, come together with, you know, the rule of law, and look at things in their true light, instead of, you know, like saying that he was jogging, you know, 13 miles from his house in workman's boots, coming out of a house that wasn't his. I mean, it's insane. It's completely insane, and it's purposefully fanning the flames using lies. So why would they want to do that? I don't know.